All right, we are playing the original Space Quest 1, 1987. It's interesting, version 2.2. I think the original game was 1986. Yes, so they must. Curious why they had so many versions on a single game. They must have had some interesting issues. So there's actually two versions of Space Quest 1. And I believe I have both. This is the original one, and then we've got one from a VGA-based one. So this would have been sort of the CGA. This is probably CGA, which is probably 4 colors. So you might see a lot of the wonderful magenta that we're used to seeing. So let's see if we can get through some of this. What's your name? Dan. Well, that's an interesting character set. Yes, this is probably CGA. No, this is probably EGA. So as I recall, we're on a ship that's about to explode. And we have to get off within, I think, 15 minutes. There's some dead people lying around. I'm pretty sure I have to get a key card from one of them. This layout seems to be a little bit different than the VGA one. Let's go through this elevator. Okay, good. I didn't have to push a button. One of these corpses... the body. One of these has a key card, I believe. Let's take a look. So there's also an enemy who has invaded the ship, and I have to evade them. See how this goes. And a dead end. So I have to sort of traverse this and get off this ship before it explodes. So as you can see, very similar, same engine essentially from the King's Quest. Space-based storyline, and Roger Wilco is the major character here, and is in the entire series. You think you hear footsteps, so I think there's some soldiers that are going to blast me. Yes, I've been blasted and died. The alien observes his handiwork briefly and then leaves. So he basically blasts me and takes off. So let's take a look at space. Let me see if I have the VGA. We'll jump immediately to the VGA and see what that looks like. So we are now loading the VGA version of Space Quest 1. This is a bit of a cheat because this does not fall within the time range that I was talking about for part 1. But you know, since we're talking about Space Quest 1, I have to show it. This part 1 covers 1984 to 1989. You can see this is 1991. The engine is completely different from the version you just saw, which would have been 3 to 4 years earlier. 256 color VGA, as you can see. Looks like the resolution's probably 300 by 200, or even better. Maybe it's 640 by 480. But you know, they're kind of showing off the colors, as you can see here. So if we fast forward, we will skip the video, and we've been latched on by the giant bug, and this looks like a turkey or a chicken. The Space Quest series was big into chickens. So here's Roger Wilco again on that same ship. We now have a self-destruct for 15 minutes. It's actually speaking a recorded digital voice, which is kind of cool. So very similar layout, just better graphics. and we have to get off the ship before it explodes, while avoiding the bad guys. So I won't talk too much about the graphics here. Look, I'm going to be blasted again, but maybe they're on the lower level. Not going to talk too much about the graphics or the engine here. This will be covered in part 2 when we get up to 1991. But wanted to show you that there was another version of Space Quest 1, which was a VGA remake. So let's go on to Space Quest 2. All right, here's Space Quest 2, 1988, version 2.f. That's kind of interesting. Seems like this was released 1 year after Space Quest 1. Valhalla's Revenge. And so far it's looking very similar to the other one as far as engine. Xenon Orbital Station 4. Let's go on through. I'm Dan. All right. And Roger Wilco was notoriously known as a janitor and a poor one at that. So clearly that is him cleaning in space, and he's let go of the broom. So let's see what happens. We'll walk around. I love that magenta. That's usually the dead ringer for CGA, but I see blue here, so it was probably capable of VGA. We'll see. So let's see what we've got here. I'm sure it'll make me change out of my spacesuit before I go anywhere. Stand by for decontamination. So let's see if it'll let us go out. It actually does, even though we're still in the spacesuit. Very interesting. Oh, of course, we're fired. So I'm sure that means we've died. Yeah. So you can actually be fired and the game will be over, or you can probably die. So that's it for Space Quest 2. Let's go to Space Quest 3, which is really where I started into the series. All right, Space Quest 3, The Pirates of Pestulon. And like I said, this is where I first played it. We'll have to see if this engine is different. This is 1989, so we're sort of on the cusp of some big changes. Color-wise, there seems to be more than 16 colors here. I do remember playing this. It was probably even a monochrome monitor, so I think it supported a number of video formats. Yeah, this feels like 16 colors. So this engine, it looks like the same as Space Quest 2, though the guy seems to be a little bit more advanced as far as character set. So you're in this garbage scow, and you have to find parts to put together a ship. You even have a mouse support in this one, which I don't think I had in Space Quest 2. And you go on different missions again. Roger Wilco is the main character. You can see a lot of movie references. That's probably Optimus Prime's head right there. There are a large number of movie references. So if I go in here, you can actually see a couple other movie references. And I type climb. So let's go down his head. You can see, well, that's that's the pod from 2001: A Space Odyssey. The lost pod. So I believe, as I recall, in 2001, when Dave took the pod to interact with, to approach the monolith, that disappeared with him. So apparently, the missing pod ended up in Space Quest 3 on a trash ship. So that's Space Quest 3. Very similar engine, Space Quest 1, 2, and 3. 1989. This is the end of part 1 as far as the years. We're going to look at a couple more games, though. We're probably only halfway through part 1. Okay, this is Double Dragon. This is actually, to be honest, this is a bit of a modern sort of reprogramming of this. You can see a lot of the sort of underlying graphics seem to be sort of original, even though this is clearly VGA and would have been great for that time. But you can see that there are some other aspects of this that are, like the timer, are clearly not original. Trying to talk and beat these guys up. I need that whoop. If only I remember what. All right. Yes. Yeah, now I've got the whip. So let's redo this. This is actually the only copy I have of Double Dragon. Oh, man, I hate when I get hit with a bat. Give me that bat. Oh, man, he just flipped me good. Oh, man, that's hurting. That's hurting. I gotta get down, get out of my way. Oh no. So let's see if we can get the bat. Obviously the weapons were what you wanted to do, but the problem with the weapon is one hit and you lost the weapon, and that was too much for me, and I died, and I got hit with a knife and a bat. Where does that guy looks like Mr. T? Is that Mr. T? Dude, he's huge enough to be Mr. T. Oh, I'm trying to get the bat. Maybe I'll get the barrel. Oh, I'm getting destroyed here. Oh, I can't take it anymore. But anyway, Double Dragon, still available on Steam as a remake. A lot of the action still feels pretty original, though I never did play it in a VGA version like this, as I recall. I think I played an EGA 16 color probably, but anyway, Double Dragon.